Raw January 5th, 2026. Happy New Year, Wrestling Universe, and what a way to kick off 2026, because last night on Monday Night Raw, we didn't just witness history, we witnessed an execution. Bron Breakker is your new World Heavyweight Champion, and CM Punk's reign just got demolished in the most savage, brutal, and absolutely shocking way possible. If you thought 2026 was going to play it safe, you just got your answer ripped apart in the middle of that ring. This wasn't just a title change, this was a statement written in blood, sweat, and the broken dreams of the best in the world. Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments. Did CM Punk underestimate the monster he was standing across from, or was this always going to end in disaster? Because what we saw last night wasn't just a loss. It was an annihilation. The arena in Tampa was electric. You could feel it in the air, that crackling tension that only exists when something massive is about to go down. CM Punk walked out first, that World Heavyweight Championship gleaming under those lights, draped over his shoulder like it belonged there, because for months, it did. He had fought tooth and nail to get that title back. He had clawed his way through a war with Seth Rollins, survived a gauntlet of challenges, and stood tall as the man who proved all the doubters wrong. At 46 years old, CM Punk was living proof that the old guard could still rule the new world. But here's the thing about being on top, gravity is undefeated. And last night, gravity had a name, Bron Breakker. When Breakker's music hit, the entire building erupted. This wasn't just another challenger walking out, this was a force of nature, a wrecking ball with a mean streak and nothing to lose. 26 years old. Second-generation superstar. The son of Rick Steiner, the nephew of Scott Steiner, carrying that legendary bloodline on his shoulders like a weapon. And for months, Bron Breakker had been tearing through Raw like a hurricane with a personal vendetta. He didn't just want the championship, he wanted to prove that his time is now, and that the legends of yesterday need to step aside or get run over. The stare down before the bell was intense. Punk, the veteran, the seasoned warrior who's been in every type of match imaginable, staring into the eyes of pure rage and raw power. Breakker, muscles coiled, jaw clenched, looking at Punk like he was the only thing standing between him and destiny. You could see it in Bron's eyes, this wasn't just about winning. This was personal. This was about taking the throne by force. The referee held up that championship. The crowd roared. And when that bell rang, chaos. Absolute, unfiltered chaos. Breakker came out like a man possessed, charging at Punk with a clothesline that nearly took his head off. Punk ducked, rolled, tried to use his experience and ring IQ to slow down the freight train coming at him, but Breakker was relentless. A massive shoulder tackle sent Punk crashing into the corner. Another one followed. And another. The velocity, the power, the sheer ferocity, Punk's face told the story. He knew he was in a fight unlike anything he'd prepared for. But here's why CM Punk is CM Punk. He's been in wars. He's survived battles that would have ended other careers. So when Breakker went for another charge, Punk moved, and Bron went shoulder first into the steel ring post. The crowd exploded. Punk saw his opening and he took it, kicks to the legs, targeting that base, bringing the powerhouse down to size. A running knee in the corner connected clean. Punk was back in control, and for a moment, it looked like experience was going to trump youth and power. Punk went up top, classic high-risk maneuver, looking for that elbow drop that's ended so many matches. He flew through the air, the crowd on their feet. But Breakker moved. Punk crashed hard. And before he could even process what happened, Breakker was on him like a predator on wounded prey. A Bellator belly suplex sent Punk flying halfway across the ring. The impact was sickening. Punk tried to get up, tried to fight back, but Breakker caught him mid-run with a power slam that shook the entire ring. The referee checked on Punk. The champion was in serious trouble. Here's my second question for you. At what point did you realize CM Punk might actually lose this match? Drop your answer below because I need to know when that sinking feeling hit you. Punk, to his credit, refused to stay down. That fighting spirit, that refused-to-die mentality that made him a legend, it kicked in. He started throwing elbows, wild strikes, anything to create space. He hit the ropes, came back with a flying forearm that actually staggered Breakker. The crowd was going insane. Punk set up for the GTS, that go to sleep that's put away giants, before he hoisted Breakker up. But Bron was too powerful. He slipped out, landed behind Punk, and before anyone could blink, German suplex. Punk folded like an accordion. The back of his head bounced off the mat. The arena gasped. That wasn't just a suplex, that was a statement. Breakker wasn't done. He grabbed Punk, pulled him up, and you could see it in his eyes, the killer instinct. He lifted Punk for a military press, holding him high above his head, showing off that freak strength, and then dropped him with authority. Punk was broken. The referee was asking if he could continue. Punk nodded, barely, trying to pull himself up using the ropes. That's when Breakker decided it was time to end this. He backed into the corner, that signature stance, crouching low like a lion about to pounce. The entire crowd knew what was coming. Punk turned around, dazed, stumbling. Spear. Not just any spear, the spear. Breakker exploded out of that corner with the force of a runaway train and speared CM Punk so hard it looked like he tried to put him through the mat and into the concrete below. The sound of the impact echoed through the arena. Punk's body folded in half. The crowd erupted. Breakker hooked the leg. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Bron Breakker had done it. At 26 years old, in the first week of 2026, he had just defeated CM Punk, a multiple-time world champion, a wrestling icon, a living legend, and ripped the World Heavyweight Championship right out of his hands. The referee handed Breakker that title, and the emotion on his face was raw, real, and absolutely electric. He held that championship high above his head, screaming into the lights, tears streaming down his face. This wasn't just a career moment. This was the culmination of years of grinding, training, proving himself, and carrying the weight of that legendary family name. Bron Breakker had arrived at the top of the mountain, and he did it by going through one of the absolute best to ever do it. Question 3, is Bron Breakker the future of WWE, or did he just get lucky against an aging CM Punk? Let me know what you really think in the comments, because this debate is going to be wild. But let's talk about CM Punk for a second, because the visual after the match was haunting. Punk lay in the middle of that ring, staring up at the lights, chest heaving, the realization slowly washing over him. He had lost. The championship he fought so hard to reclaim was gone. At 46 years old, in the first defense of 2026, his reign was over, and it was over at the hands of someone representing the next generation. The look on Punk's face wasn't just disappointment, it was devastation mixed with respect. Because even in defeat, Punk knew he had just been in the ring with someone special. Something dangerous. Something inevitable. The crowd gave Punk a standing ovation as he slowly pulled himself out of the ring. Love him or hate him, CM Punk had just given everything he had, and he came up short against a force he couldn't control. The sight of him walking up that ramp, head down, hand over his mouth, knowing his championship run was done, that image is going to stick with fans for a long time. Meanwhile, Bron Breakker celebrated like a man who had just conquered the world, because in many ways, he had. He stood on the turnbuckles, that championship raised high, the Tampa crowd losing their minds. This was his moment. This was his time. And the entire wrestling world just got put on notice. But here's where things get really interesting going forward. What does this mean for CM Punk? Does he get a rematch? Does he spiral into desperation trying to reclaim what he lost? Or does he accept that his time at the top might be over, and the new generation is here to take everything from him? Because the story doesn't end here, this is just the beginning of what could be an absolutely explosive rivalry. And Bron Breakker, what's next for him? Who's going to step up and challenge the new champion? Is it going to be someone from his past coming for revenge? Is it going to be a hungry superstar seeing an opportunity? Or is CM Punk going to refuse to go away quietly and demand one more shot to prove he's still got what it takes? Question 4. Who should be the first person to challenge Bron Breakker for that World Heavyweight Championship? Give me names in the comments because I want to see who you think is ready to step into the ring with this absolute beast. The implications of this title change are massive. Bron Breakker winning the World Heavyweight Championship sends shockwaves through the entire WWE landscape. This isn't just about one man's victory, this is about power shifting, generations colliding, and the entire hierarchy of Monday Night Raw being thrown into chaos. Triple H and the creative team just made a statement: the future is now, and if you're not ready to adapt, you're going to get left behind. Think about the locker room right now. Every single superstar watching that match is processing what just happened. The young lions are energized, thinking this could be their moment too. The veterans are calculating, wondering if they're next on the chopping block. And everyone in between is realizing that Monday Night Raw just became the most dangerous place in professional wrestling. This victory also cements Bron Breakker's legacy in a way that words can't fully capture. Yes, he's the son of Rick Steiner. Yes, he's the nephew of Scott Steiner. But last night, he stepped out of those massive shadows and created his OWN legacy. He didn't just win a championship, he beat CM Punk to do it. That's a name that will forever be attached to his first World Heavyweight Championship win. That's the kind of victory that defines careers. And let's be real for a second, the spear that ended the match is going to be replayed for years. That was one of the most devastating finishing moves we've seen in recent memory. The velocity, the impact, the timing, everything about it was perfect. That's the kind of moment that becomes iconic, that gets shown in highlight packages, that reminds everyone why professional wrestling at its best is absolutely unmatched in terms of drama and athleticism. Final question for you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked were you when Bron Breakker actually pinned CM Punk and won the championship? I need to know if you saw this coming or if you're still picking your jaw up off the floor. What we witnessed on Monday Night Raw wasn't just a great match, it was a passing of the torch, whether CM Punk wanted to pass it or not. It was the kind of moment that reminds us why we love this business, why we invest our time and emotion into these stories, and why professional wrestling continues to be the most unpredictable form of entertainment on the planet. Bron Breakker stood in that ring last night as the World Heavyweight Champion, and the message was crystal clear: the landscape of WWE has changed forever. The old guard is being challenged. The new generation isn't asking for permission, they're taking what they want by force. And if you're not ready to fight for your spot, you're going to lose it to someone who's hungrier, stronger, and more determined than you've ever been. CM Punk gave everything he had. He fought with the heart of a champion, the experience of a veteran, and the pride of a legend. But sometimes, heart and experience aren't enough when you're standing across from pure, unbridled power and youth. The story of Punk's championship loss isn't about weakness, it's about the inevitable march of time and the relentless hunger of the next generation refusing to wait their turn. As we move forward into 2026, Monday Night Raw has a new king. Bron Breakker sits on that throne with the World Heavyweight Championship around his waist, and the question isn't if he's going to be a dominant champion, the question is WHO is going to be brave enough to step up and try to take that title away from him. The war has just begun. Alliances will be tested. Rivals will emerge. And somewhere, CM Punk is plotting his comeback, wondering if he has one more run left in him, or if last night was the beginning of the end of his legendary career. This is Wrestling Juice Insider, and we just witnessed history. Bron Breakker is your new World Heavyweight Champion, and professional wrestling will never be the same. Welcome to 2026, where legends fall, monsters rise, and every single week could change everything. Now get down in those comments and let me know everything you're thinking. Are you on Team Breakker or Team Punk? Who challenges next? And did this match live up to the hype or exceed it? The conversation starts now. This is Wrestling Juice Insider, and you just witnessed history.